So we have an intimate crew today. We have Russ from Brattleboro TV. We have me from, I have a little magic studio in Three Rivers, Massachusetts. So I'm coming to you from there. We have Steve, who, a former volunteer.
Yeah, a continuing volunteer. Why I call it PIA.
PIA, what does that stand for?
Well, yeah, you got
it. Okay. And we have James coming to us from?
Just across the street.
You came all the way from across the street just to see me. I appreciate that. And we have Kevin. Where are you coming from?
Well, from his apartment, you can see mine.
There you go. It's you know what I like about this? It's a community thing, and that's really what this is all about. I first came to Brattleboro. Actually, well, the first time I came to Brattleboro, I was just a little kid. But my grandparents, what they would do is they would just choose a weekend. They would pick up us grandkids, and we would do like a weekend trip, typically to Vermont. I don't know, something about Vermont. We would hit all the different touristy spots, and we'd always wind up in Brattleboro. So some of my earliest memories come from Brattleboro. But then fast forward several more years, my first magic show happened in Brattleboro. This was probably 15 years ago. I was performing at the Hooker Dudham Theater. So I did a performance there. I was hired by Robin Zegg. She's a local magician, performer, comedian. And I remember having such a great time there that when I decided to bring my magic out again, I decided to start doing magic in Brattleboro. So I'm here usually twice a month. I'll do a presentation here at the River Garden. I'll also do a performance at the Hooker Dudham. In fact, I'll be there on November 26th and December 3rd. They're both Sundays. They're a week apart. I'm doing my show, 4,000 Years of Magic. It's a lot of magic condensed into 1 hour. So it's a fun show. It's an interactive show. It's very different from the presentation you're going to see today. So that's just a little bit of a background of what that's more of like a family style show. I'll be escaping from a straitjacket. I'll be sawing someone in half. Crazy stuff. So that's a fun show. But today, slightly different kind of material. So I think we're ready to start. The camera's rolling. Once again, this is for community television, so I hope you can go back home and watch this a little later. But are we ready to have some fun, yes?
Sure.
It's my favorite answer. It's said that our assumptions are windows to the world. And it's also said that unless we scrub those windows from time to time, well, eventually no light will be allowed in. But the cost of any worthy endeavor reminds us that we must let go of our preconceived notions, opening us up to a whole new world of possibilities. Oh, excuse me, a whole new world of possibilities. Well, once again, my name is Jonas Cain, and today we're going to be doing some magic, but we're also going to be talking about a few other things to try and test our imagination, to perhaps let go of some things that might be holding us back in certain areas. Now, to test where you folks are at, to see how willing you are to play along, I have a little card trick, but it's also an assessment. Let's start over here. James.
Yeah.
James. I'm just going to shuffle through the cards. Wherever you say stop, that's going to become your card. Make sense?
Okay, yeah.
All right, so just say stop as I shuffle.
Stop.
There, take a look at your card, but don't tell me what it is.
Okay.
I'll show Kevin too, just in case you forget. All right, can I place the cards back? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
So hold out your right hand, please, and you may hold on to the cards and place your other hand on top.
Okay.
All right. So James, you have a good imagination, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to truly test this imagination because you chose a card, and as soon as you looked at the card, you took the cards from me.
Yes, right.
There's no way I can know what your card is. There's no way I could have maybe snuck the card out of the deck, right?
Impossible.
It's impossible,
Yes.
seemingly, because inside my pocket I have my wallet. And
You
inside,
got any money?
I have a little bit of money, Eugene. It's good to see you again.
Watch out for this guy, he's a troublemaker.
Do you know him?
Yes, very well, really.
Yeah, he lives across the street too.
Yeah, you know what I like about this? Oh, everyone's here. Hey, Ann's here too.
Hello.
Inside my wallet, I have a playing card.
Yes.
Do you think it's possible that the card printed on here is your card?
Well, it's possible if all the cards are the same.
Oh, you see? Okay, James is catching on to something. He's saying if all the cards in the deck are the same, it's possible. That's one way. I prefer to do it this way. Where all 52 cards are printed on this card. You see, it's easy to be confident of the future when it's impossible to fail, right? Right? There's I even have the Joker printed on there. And the off chance that you chose it. Did you choose a Joker?
No.
Okay, it's okay if you tell us now so everyone can hear. What card did you choose?
2 of hearts.
The 2 of hearts. There it is, the 2 of hearts. Once again, not so much a miracle, but what this does indicate. What's that, Eugene? What this shows us, though, is that it is possible to fail if we choose the wrong people. If we surround ourselves with the wrong people. And I knew you were the right person for this, James. I knew you were, because you saw the 2 of hearts. Someone else might not have seen the 2 of hearts in this deck of cards. In fact, count how many 2s are in that deck. Turn the cards face up and count how many 2s you find.
6.
6 2s. There are 0 2s. Let's show the camera so everyone at home can see. There are no 2s because this deck of cards is completely blank. So you were right. All the cards are the same. Give James a nice big hand. Thank you so much. Are we having fun? Yes.
Yes.
That's called intelligence.
It's good. Yes. Yes. Well, we are here today to have some fun, but once again, we're also here to talk about some things, specifically about working with other people. You know, it's easy to work alone. Throw in 2 people, oh my goodness, you get a mess. Throw in a whole bunch of people, it's even more difficult. But the magic that we've just seen starts us on this conversation. It starts us thinking about this, from making sure we have the right people who are willing to work with us. James, you did a great job. But also about letting go of preconceived notions that could perhaps hold us back, right?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes, yes.
Is it possible to buy that deck of cards?
It is. You can go on Amazon, type in blank deck of cards. Absolutely. Actually, I have some extra at home. I can also bring some next time. Oh, yes, Ann.
Do you also have your book of absurd jokes? I had to buy one today.
I do have my absurd joke book. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for asking. Now you have a copy, don't you?
I gave it away to somebody who really appreciates it.
It's a good book. Well, actually, I'll be telling some jokes out of here in just a little bit. Now, if the saying is true, that there's a saying that says working together requires going together. Now, if this is true, let's go together and dive right in with our first idea. And this comes to us by the famous General Patton, George Patton. He says that successful generals make plans to fit circumstances, but do not create circumstances to fit plans.
I served under him.
Seriously, you did? That's amazing. That is amazing. Which division were you in?
I was not in the division. I was attached to various divisions.
Spy.
Come on, you can tell us now.
That is amazing. That's really cool. So, as you know, Patton, very successful general. You know, very, very respected.
Not very much liked.
That's also true. But he knew what he was doing, though. And I think the idea of what he's saying here is so often we run into situations where something new is introduced. It's kind of like the saying, when life gives us lemons, what do we do?
Squeeze them.
Lemonade.
You squeeze them, right? To make lemonade, right? So often when we get something new, we want a sweet outcome. We don't want a sour outcome. So often when new things are introduced, the results can turn sour because we fall back on the way we've always done things.
You can use them for making a margarita.
That's also true. So either sweet or a party time. But if we fall back on the way we've always done things, we end up succumbing to one of the primary reasons why people fail. This is according to Napoleon Hill. We've all heard of him. He's the author of such books as Napoleon Hill's Principles of Success, Think and Grow Rich. He says that the number one reason why people fail is by failing to change as circumstances change. So again, by sticking to the way we've always done things, that's trying to solve new problems with old solutions. Let's take this a little bit further. How many of you are good at math? Anyone with math skills? Kind of, Stephen's like maybe.
Calculus is out the window.
Okay, don't worry, we're not going to do calculus. I have to ask because I'm actually terrible at math.
1 and 1 is 2.
There you
That's the easy stuff. That's what we're going to stick to today. And this is an easy part. This part we can all play along with. How many squares do we see on this board? How many squares? 16, right? That's the, when we look at it, that's the first thing we see is we count the individual squares and we see 16.
What times 4?
James is counting even more. How many?
At least 22.
At least 22. So I think what James is catching on to is, yes, we can count the individual squares, but we can take 4 squares together to make a square, right? And you can actually do that a total of 9 times on this board. So 16 plus 9, that's 25. But we can also take 3 by 3 squares to make a square. You can do that 4 times on this board, so that's 29. But this entire thing is a square. So now we have 30. Maybe there's more, but that's as many as I've counted anyway. So the idea is sometimes we're looking at things, but if we look at it quickly, we miss some of the other things. Now, Stephen, you're kind of good at math.
Kind of, sort of.
We're going to try something. This is going to be simple for you, Stephen. Just any number between 1 and 9. Which number do you want to use?
Do I say it aloud? 7.
Number 7. That was simple, right? You're going to choose anyone else here to name another number between 1 and 9.
13.
13, Eugene says. You know what I like about you? You're so fun. I think this is probably the 3rd or 4th time you've come to one of my things. Yeah.
Actually, 2 of the numbers in that sequence actually does equal 13.
Okay. So, okay, so Eugene, a single-digit number between 1 and 9. Which one do you want to use?
8.
Number 8. And do you want the 8 to the right or to the left?
To the right.
To the right. So that makes it 78. Now it could have been 87, right? It could have really been any 2-digit number, but between Stephen and Eugene, we've arrived at a random 2-digit number. Now, as I said, I'm not that great with math, but I have been practicing a certain type of equation. I've been laser focusing in on one type of math, and I'm going to run my calculations with this number, and I'm going to fill in all of these squares on the board. I'm going to see how I do. Does anyone have a watch with a second hand? Eugene, you do? All right. Eugene, you're going to time and see how long it takes me to fill in all these squares. As soon as you say go, I will begin.
Go.
And stop. How far did we get?
25 seconds.
25 seconds? I did this like 2 days ago. It was like 29 point something seconds. So I beat my old record. Thank you very much. Eugene's bringing us back to reality. Well, what did you do? That's a very good question.
9 and 9 is...
So what I did here, hopefully, is I wrote the number 78 several times on this board. So not just the one on top here, but I hid the number 78 several times. If you look at it and think about it for a moment, you might see how this adds up. If you think you have an answer, just shout it out. I'm going to give you a hint. We could start, let's start with the rows. 57 plus 2 is 59. 59 plus 8 is
67.
67 plus 11 is
78.
78, right? But we could also take 7 and 12 is 19, plus 1 is 20, 20 plus 58 is 59 and 4, 9 and 6 is 78, 60 and 3 and 5 and 10 is
78.
78. So that's all the rows. However, we can also take all of the columns as well. 57 and 12 plus 6 and 3 is 78. 2 and 7 is 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. 18 plus 60 is. And then 11, 58, 4 and 5, 10, 59, 1 and 8 is 78. So that's all the rows and all the columns. But what about the diagonals? 57 plus 7 plus 4 plus 10 is 78. 8 and 58 plus 9 plus 3 is
Let's guess.
78. 78, that's right. So at first, when we just give a quick glance at this new information, we might not see anything. But the more we dive deeper, we see how all these possibilities open up. In fact, remember, I think it was James, you had pointed out that you could take 4 squares together to make a square. In fact, you can take 57 plus 12 plus 7 and 2, that's 78. You can take 6 and 3 plus 60 plus 9 is 78. 8 and 11, 58 and 1 is 78. 59 plus 4 plus 5 plus 10 is
78.
And just when you think that we've exhausted all of our possibilities, that's when we realize we haven't. Because we can take the 4 corners. 8 plus 57 plus 3 plus 10 is...
Bingo!
Bingo, that's right. Our math whiz. Thank you very much for your help.
Is it the property of 78? The number special?
Well, it's special because they chose it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. It could have been 87.
Right.
It could have been any number, I suppose.
Okay.
Good question. But this is the idea. If we come to a situation where we see something new that we haven't seen before, and we look at it quickly, like finding a lemon in the road, a possible sour situation, as Eugene would want to make it into a margarita, right? We have the choice to look at it quickly and revert back to the way we've always done things, or take a step back and look at it from another perspective.
How did you do it?
The way I did this, actually, this is a stunt. It's called the magic square. So there's a whole bunch of articles. Actually, I looked up a lot of stuff on Wikipedia out there, so that there's been a lot of stuff in mathematical journals. Again, I'm not a math whiz.
Online yesterday on Facebook, I found what they call Japanese mathematics, and what they do is they use lines, vertical, horizontal, or kind of, and then the intersection of the lines, it comes up with this answer
I've
of,
seen some. I think I've seen that.
it works. It's like,
Fascinating. It's
and
like,
no wonder like they're way ahead of us.
yeah, the way that they look at problems and solve them in completely different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this little tablet that's been found that takes trig in older tradition of trigonometry, not what we have today, but what was used and was more accurate back then.
That's fascinating.
So we've kind of drifted back, and now our ancestors are doing the same thing we're doing right now, is we're looking at things in a different way.
So somewhere along the way that we've done it sort of branched off from that, and,
Yeah.
and it's kind of right, but there's a better way.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's exactly that. That's exactly right. This is what we're talking about. There's more than one way to do things, right?
How did you arrive at that?
So, very good question, Eugene. I arrived at this. There's several solutions to this. Some easier than others, and the solution. There's a whole bunch of solutions online. So if you go online, there's different equations that you can use. I forget the name of the guy who created the solution I found, or the guy who at least is teaching it, but I can get that information for you. So, speaking of Japan, this idea, there's a story about, there was a Japanese playing card company founded in Japan in the year 1889, and they made playing cards, and they had some success in Japan for a number of years, but by the 1950s, they started seeing the writing on the wall. They started to find a lemon in the road. And the lemon was that they were seeing the sale of playing cards worldwide were plummeting. And they had a decision. One, they could just pack up shop and give up. Or they could just keep on doing what they've been doing and hope for the best. Or they could take a step back and consider some other possibilities, and that's what they did. They ended up consulting other people on their team within their organization, and this proved life-saving because, again, over the years, playing card sales continued to drop, but by this point, they had begun to have success manufacturing new types of toys and games in the electronic industry. And all of this success that they were having ended up snowballing into the multi-billion-dollar company that we now know today as Nintendo. The Nintendo playing card company. That's what they were originally called when they were founded in the 1800s. They manufactured playing cards. But by taking a step back and looking at things in a new way, they were able to experience explosive growth that they wouldn't have been able to have otherwise. And we probably wouldn't know the name Nintendo otherwise as well.
Excuse me, Jonas, I have to change the battery pack,
Oh,
so at this
okay.
point I have to
Yeah, that's okay.
put you on pause.
Feel free.
Nintendo.
Actually, you know what? I have something, but I would invite everyone up one at a time to choose a card. And each card has a drawing on it. And I would have them look at the drawing for 3 seconds without anyone else seeing what the drawing was. And then I would have them write on a separate piece of paper a description, a one-word description of their first response of what they saw, describing it. And I had everyone do this. And even though everyone had a free choice of any card, it was only the illusion of choice. Because every card has the same image, just like the deck of cards. They're all blank, right? But this has all the same images. So it was the illusion of choice. And even though they had a free choice to look at the same image, I would get 2 different answers. Same image, I would get 2 different responses. Sometimes there would be some outlier responses as well, but most 99% of the time I would get the same 2 answers. So I'm gonna hold this up. I'm gonna show everyone the image for like 3 seconds, and just sort of think about what you see, and think about what you first see, what your first response is. Again, you might see one of 2 things. And don't say anything out loud just yet. Let me hold this up so we can all see. All right, so let's see. Maybe Kevin, what did you see?
Duck.
You saw a duck. Who else saw a duck as their first response? Anyone else? James, you saw a duck? All right. Did anyone see anything other than a duck?
Quack.
Quack! You see, this is one of the outlier answers. You know, I've had some people give me the answer. I think my favorite answer they gave was yellow. They described it as, I think they were describing their emotions right? that they were feeling. What did you see, Stephen?
Slide.
Slide. Slide. And what did you see?
It doesn't have a name.
It doesn't.
It's like one of those animals that they want to trap. You know, it wasn't an otter, it was some other kind of animal. I don't know.
I'm not, yeah.
Forget about it.
So, but we did see a quacking duck. We saw a quacking duck. But if we look at it another way, the duck bill could become rabbit ears and a rabbit tail down here. But again, we can also look at it like we have the duck bill and the little duck tail. So by looking at it, it's the same thing. It's the same image, but we can have different experiences of it depending on how we look at it, depending on our worldview, depending on what we were told previously. We might see one thing first, or we might see the other thing first. And this highlights a big problem with working as a team, you know, again, whether it's in an organization, whether it's in a family unit. I've experienced this a lot. It's called the problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place. I've experienced this in my own life, usually in regards to personal relationships, which I think is probably why I'm not married anymore. I miss her. But the illusion of communication is what happens when what is communicated is interpreted differently than was actually intended. I'm reminded there's the little story of this elderly couple, a man and a wife. They went for a leisurely stroll under the moonlight. And the husband turned to his beloved wife and he said to her, "Honey, under the moonlight, your teeth look just like pearls." It's a beautiful sentiment, right? But to this, the wife turned to her husband and said, "Who the heck is Pearl? And what were you doing with her under the moonlight?" Communication can be difficult when we're not on the same page. But it's especially difficult if we're not even working from the same book, right? Now, Anne has, or she used to have a copy of this book. Has anyone else ever read this book? Absurd Jokes. It is, I think Anne can verify, it's absurd. I'll just tell you a couple of the jokes. We have such jokes as, "I attended the wedding of 2 antennas. The ceremony was pretty nice, but the reception was amazing."
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Getting groans from the cameraman. But seriously, folks, it was an emotional wedding. Even the cake was in tears.
More,
That one takes the cake. All right, I won't tell any more jokes, but
I just want to mention that I have a friend who's got mental issues. She's smart, but she's got other kind of issues. And we trade puns and things like postcards. So this was an ideal source for me to find things to send to her. So it works. It's very.
I'm glad that could help.
It's very nice.
Yeah, this is all like my favorite jokes that I've ever heard. Like I have some of my own original jokes in here, but most of them I've just turned into Jonas jokes. Now, Anne, since you have read this book already, I'm going to try something with you. I'm going to flip through the pages of the book, and wherever you say stop, that's going to become your page. All right, I'm going to flip through. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you read any jokes. So just say stop.
Stop.
Are you happy with this page?
Yes.
I'm going to put the bookmark in. I'm going to come to you. You're going to look at the very first word, just the first word of the page. You're not going to tell anyone else what the word is just yet, but you're going to take a look at that word. Don't tell anyone what it is. You got it? If I ask you later, you'll be able to tell us?
Yeah.
All right. You can hold on to the book. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, even though Anne just chose a random page to look at a word, is it possible that I could know the word that she was going to think of before she even knew she was going to think of it? James is like, no, of course not. But it is a magic show. So perhaps it's a little more likely. inside my pocket, I have a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, I wrote down, I have a word written on that piece of paper. So as soon as you say the word, Ann, I'm going to take the piece of paper out, I'm going to open it up, I'm going to show everyone the word that you're just merely thinking of now. You may say your word now.
Thought.
Thought. On this piece of paper, in this dictionary, we have QRST, T. You see, it's a piece of paper from my pocket. There it is. And is that the word thought?
Yes.
On the piece of paper from my pocket, thank you.
I know how you did that. I know how you did that.
How did I do it?
I know how you did
It's
that.
a trick,
Maybe I
not
should tell
magic.
you so you could do it this next time.
All right, well,
Yes, I'll hold it.
thank you.
We'll talk later.
I appreciate that.
I'd call that a trick, not magic.
Yeah, oh yes, that's true. It is a trick.
You deserve a free book.
Well, the idea, though, that I told you was true. I said there was going to be a piece of paper in my pocket. I didn't tell you about all the other pieces of paper. But what I said was true. It's just that we interpreted it differently than was perhaps intended. Or maybe I did intend you to misinterpret what I said. Sometimes that happens too. But this was the absurd part. This was the absurd part. Let's take this a step further to get serious for a moment, because in the back of the book, there is a little piece of paper with a picture of me. With a picture of me on one side. On the other side, we have a word written down in bold marker. James, what is that word?
Thought.
Thought.
Now that's magic.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
Is that your word, Ann?
Yes, sure it is.
And that's for you. Give Ann a nice
Thank
big
you very
hand.
much. Thank you.
Comes with a bookmark and everything. Communication can be difficult when we're not on the same page, but it's especially difficult when we're not even working from the same book. Language is important, right? The very words that we use, the idea of being able to take what we say and define what we say. I studied philosophy in college at Salem State University, and one of the first things that my professors drilled into us was when you're writing an essay, define your terms. Because what do you mean when you say the word thought? What do you mean when you say the word mind? Because it means different to different philosophers. Now, there's a common excuse that says I'm only responsible for what I say, but not for what you understand. But if we believe that, and we stop there, then we lead to one of the biggest problems that leads to teams getting divided. One of the problems that divides relationships, that causes problems within an organization. Responsible team members know that it's everyone's responsibility to define our terms, to calibrate, to get everyone on the same page. Now, if we do this, and we follow through with it, the results can truly be magical. And I know Ann was here, you've been here every month that I'm here, but I think you were here the day also that I taught everyone a magic trick. I don't know if you'll remember exactly how it's done, so I'm going to go over this again. We have some objects here, we have several objects on the table, but let's just focus on these three. We have a dictionary, an absurd joke book, and a lemon. 3 objects. And using calibration, using defining our terms, using teamwork, we can do a really neat magic trick. So you can take this back home with you. You can take it to work with you. You take it to your friends or family, and you can amaze people. Those of you who are here can't do it for each other because you already know how it's done, or you are about to know. This is the way the trick looks. I could leave the room. I could go all the way outside, and someone could choose one of the objects. Let's say they chose the dictionary. Everyone would concentrate on the dictionary. Someone would call me back in, so I know to come back in. And I would come in and I would know instantly which object everyone was thinking of. And I could do this several times, and 100% of the time, this magic trick would work, no matter which of the 3 objects they chose. How is this possible? Any ideas?
No idea.
No idea.
Can we go and tell these people to be quiet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, whatever you need, absolutely. So again, this could happen 100% of the time, and the trick will always work. And the way we do this is using teamwork. It's using calibration. It's making sure that everyone understands what each object means, because we're going to use a different kind of language. It's said that in business, the most important language in the world is the language of the customer. So if the customer speaks Chinese, it's probably a good idea not to speak Swahili, because we want to make sure that the customer can understand this. I would say then the most important language in an organization is the language of the team. So the question is, does everyone know what that language is? And is everyone using that language? We're creating with this trick a new language. All right, so the new language, the new term for the dictionary, we don't call it a dictionary, its new name is come on back. The new term, the new word for the joke book, it's not joke book, but it's all right. So that's the new name of the book, is all right. The new name for the lemon, it's not called a lemon anymore, it's called ready. Ready. So we have 3 objects with new names. So you have to, of course, have someone on your team working from the inside. So let's say Stephen could be my, the technical term is called being in cahoots. So Stephen might be someone on my team. I just explained to him the language of the team, like we have to speak the lingo as they call it, right? So come on back, all right, ready. This is easy to remember as well. If we remember how to spell the word car, C-A-R, C, come on back, A, all right, R, ready. If we can remember how to spell the word car, then we can remember this. So if I was out of the room and everyone is concentrating on the book, the joke book, how would you call me back into the room?
How would I?
Yeah,
With one of those letters.
So you would say all right.
Right, all right.
All right, because that's the new name for the joke book. All right.
Do you tell everybody the new name?
No, just my secret person, just my secret helper.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm explaining how this is done for you folks, but when you do this for like your family or friends, you just have one person who is in on it.
Yeah.
All right, and then everyone else will be like, how are you doing that? So if they chose the joke book, my secret helper would say, all right. I'd come back in the room and I would know that he's thinking of the joke book. Now, if they were thinking of the lemon, that again, that's
Ready.
its secret name is ready. Stephen would say ready. I'd come back in. I'd say you're thinking of the lemon. How about the dictionary? How would you call me back into the room?
I can't remember what it was.
So that was C-A-R. So it's C. Come on back.
Going back.
Yeah. I have instructions for this on my website. Actually, so once the video is done being edited and uploaded, I'm going to upload the video to a special web page on my website. It'll be jonascain.com/rivergarden. So you'll be able to watch this video, and you'll also be able to, on that web, you'll be able to watch the video again to see the instructions, but there'll also be a download where you'll get printed instructions for how to do this as well. So be sure to get if you want like a business card, I can give you that. That will have my website on there, so you can easily find it. So does this make sense?
Yes, yes.
So
So you're gonna go outside so I can
Oh, you want to try this? You want to try it?
Yeah.
All right, so come on back. All right, ready. Let's try it.
Okay, everyone.
All right, so maybe Stephen can point at an object. I'll just go over here.
Okay, which one now, everyone? This one? That one? Or this one?
What's the consensus?
Middle one. Middle one?
Yeah.
Okay, middle one. Okay.
Let's see, all right.
Come on back.
All right, now they can verify. I wasn't looking over here at all.
No, you weren't.
I think you folks are thinking about the dictionary. Is that true?
Yeah.
No.
No! No!
No, okay.
What did he do?
You ratted on you.
What did you do?
You should have said all right.
Hey, oh, let's try it. Let's try it again. You can fire me the next time. C. What's the C stand for?
Come on back.
Coming back. All right. Which one?
All right.
All right.
Ready.
Let's do the 11.
Okay.
Ready.
All right. Oh, already.
You know what they say, when life gives us lemons, you make the best of it. Are you thinking of the lemon?
Yeah.
There we go. Give Stephen a nice big hand. We got there eventually. Oh my goodness.
You need a reliable partner.
Yeah, that's actually a very
Need
good
the
point.
pan better.
One of the challenges with this is before you jump into a real situation is to have these little practice runs, right? So if we do it twice, usually by the second or third time we have it nailed. C-A-R. Sometimes what I often do too is it's kind of like giving someone a dictionary. So it's sort of like when you get into a company, they'll often have like the lingo, they have special terms. They say, I want you to remember these terms, you know. So I might give someone a card that has the special names already written down, so if they need to refer to it. So yeah, taking the time to understand where problems could go wrong. One of the common problems that goes wrong is which perspective is it the C-A-R? Is it from your perspective, C-A-R, or is it from my perspective, C-A-R? That's one of the problems that can come up, which is why it's good to calibrate and say, okay, it's always going to be one way. So, I have one last little thing, and then I'm going to wrap this up. There was an author, his name is Chuck Swindoll. He once said that no one is a whole chain. Each one is a link. But take away just one of those links and the chain is broken. No one is a whole team. Each one is a player. But take away just one player and the game is forfeited. So in other words, working together requires going together. And that can only happen if we have these calibration settings so we know what everyone is talking about. So I'm going to leave you folks with one final piece of encouragement. Ann has seen this 100 times already. When life gives us lemons, what do?
Make lemonade.
We make, or margaritas. But here's the deepest secret that nobody knows. And here's the wonder that's holding the stars apart. Whatever our lemon is, whatever's threatening to hold the team back, is precisely what we must face. Because when we do, we'll find there waiting for us what we've been looking for this whole time. In this case, it's a playing card. James, you chose a card earlier from a blank deck of cards. What card did you choose? The Two of Hearts? Are you sure it wasn't the Six of Spades?
I'm not sure.
Well, I do have the Two of Hearts right here. Let's give James a nice big hand. Thank you so much. That's for you, a souvenir.
That's impressive.
It has been a joy sharing the past several moments with you folks. I hope you enjoyed this experience. You have something positive that you can take away. It's great seeing a lot of familiar faces. It's nice to see you folks. I will be back in Brattleboro next week, November 26th, and then the following week, December 3rd, at the Hooker Dunham Theater for my show 4,000 Years of Magic. I'll be doing magic that entertained the pharaohs of Egypt. I'll be doing a magic trick that stopped a rebellion in Algeria by a French magician. He used a magic trick to stop a war before it even broke out. I'll be escaping from a straitjacket, sawing someone in half. It's going to be a great show, so you have 2 opportunities to see this in the coming weeks. And I will be back here at the River Garden as well. Let me give you that date. That is December 8th. December 8th, so it's also a Friday. I hope to see you folks again. Thank you so much.
I want to see you swallow the needle again.
Oh, the needle. You know what? I can take special requests. I will. Are you going to be at the... Can you come to next week's show at the Hooker Dunham or the week after?
I don't really know if I can or not.
Okay. Well, I will have it at the ready. I'll have it at the ready, and if you come, I will swallow needles just for you, Eugene. I swallow needles too. So this is an old trick that Harry Houdini used to do. He would swallow needles. He would drink some wine. I drink juice. And then, he would also swallow some thread. And then he would pull the thread out of his mouth, and the needles would be strung on the thread. Yeah.
Threads a needle inside his mouth.
Yeah. So, if Eugene comes in the coming weeks, I will do that trick again. Great to see you again. Great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Very welcome. And always good to see you.
It's good to see you, dear.
Yeah. Gavin, thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed it.
I'm coming to the next one too.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, there's 3 opportunities in the next few weeks to come and see you. I'm not sure what presentation I'm going to do here in this room next month. It's usually
Trick he was talking about.
whatever is in demand that month.
It had something to do with the
My
legend.
one trick I know, I wonder if you know, is it's